क्या भारत ये सपना नहीं देख सकता कि हम दुनिया में स्टार्टअप की दुनिया में भारत नंबर 1 पर पहुंचेगा? ये स्टार्टअप इंडिया, स्टैंड अप इंडिया, इस काम को जब मैं आगे लेकर जाना चाहता हूं।
The Prime Minister's clarion call of Startup India has given hope and aspiration to the startup world. A lot of work has been on for the last 6 months on the Startup India campaign. The government has been focusing on providing a better ecosystem for new startups. The official launch of the startup campaign will be on the 16th of January. Along with many venture capitalists, founders of 40 startups will take part in the program. According to NASSCOM, India is at the 5th spot in terms of ecosystem ranking. In 2014, startups provided jobs to 65,000 people, and in 2015, 80,000 jobs were provided by startups. It is estimated that by 2020, there will be 11,500 startups in the country, providing 2.5 lakh job opportunities. In 2015, 1,000 startups started operations. The government also wants to give a push to its Make in India campaign through the Startup India program. To connect to the youth, the government will likely launch a website and a mobile app for the same. A startup can be launched with a budget of between 10 lakh to 100 crores. If the idea is a little out of the box, the startup can receive funding as well. From Tata to Narendra Murthy have invested heavily in startups in 2015. The main aim behind Startup India, Stand Up India is to boost entrepreneurship in the country. Bureau Report, DD News.
And President Pranab Mukherjee met leading Silicon Valley CEOs, entrepreneurs, technologists and venture capitalists for an interactive session at Rashtrapati Bhavan on the eve of the Startup India initiative to be launched by the Prime Minister today. During this interactive session, the President reiterated the government's commitment to make India the hub of innovation, design and startups. And our correspondent Yogesh Sheetal joins us from Mumbai for more. Yogesh, you're in Bombay and the Startup India Stand Up India initiative will be launched by the Prime Minister today. How are the people in Bombay seeing this?
Yes, whenever we talk about Mumbai and especially on such initiatives, especially linked to business, definitely Mumbai is also financial hub of the country and also financial capital, also known as financial capital. Right now I'm joined with some new entrepreneur, first generation entrepreneur. First I'll come to you. आप थोड़ा सा हमें ये बताइए कि what are the basic obstacles that a startup faces in a very earlier stage?
The most important thing for startups is the first process is setting up a company. I think that is quite a long and painstaking process today. It takes almost a month and a half to set up the company or bank account. So it should be a single window. Taxation rules for different sectors are not clear. My company is in the e-commerce sector, and we have a services model, so it's not clear, what is. There's no real information available. You have to go to many different places to get things like that. Obviously, funding, is besides going in for VC funding or access to capital is there are not too many avenues available today. And I think the other important thing, especially in an e-commerce scenario, is just general costs with your various partners and larger players in terms of logistics or vendors. Startups typically do not have large amounts of money, and we don't get the benefit of the of economy. We don't have economies of scale, so we get higher costs for everything, which is counterintuitive to what a startup.
Good luck for you. So just I would like to know from you that what are the major concerns, because he's saying that yes, there are some process, some taxation process. How do you see the current steps that have been taken by the government, especially a startup program?
I think we're all looking forward to the steps that the government is about to announce today. The problems that Zarek from Style Flip highlighted are very clear and very across the board, across all the startups, not just e-commerce startups. In the UK it takes about a day to start a company. Here the process is probably, if you're lucky, a week long. And the bigger problem is in the UK it takes about 3-4 days to maybe close a company. Over here that process is much longer. So one of the key things about startups is that a lot of them actually fail, and through failure entrepreneurs grow and they learn and start new businesses. So we need to allow these companies to fail, and that's something we're really looking forward to from the government's today Startup India initiative. The other thing is, one of the things that startups, as you mentioned, they have less money, so they can't afford offices of their own. That's what we do here at Bombay Connect. We actually provide shared office spaces for startups to lower their cost and increase flexibility for them to be able to have a space to work out of.
Yes, right.
Yogesh,
so these are the concerns. So I can
Right, Yogesh. If you could also ask them that despite the funding roadblock, what are the other things that they are expected? They are expecting the Startup India, Stand Up India initiative to clear up.
Very briefly, just tell me that what are your expectations basically, because other than funding issues is also a thing, we accept that, but what are the other things that you are expected from the government?
Well, as I mentioned, solutions to some of these problems. One is the process which is more efficient in terms of being able to start and close companies. Funding is actually not that big an issue in recent years, because although there is very limited sources of funding in terms of VC, is probably the only channel in angels. But maybe a preferred rate for startups in terms of being able to borrow money, because growth capital is not easy to come by. Right. So something that the government can work on that. Maybe some government fund. There was a 10,000 crores entrepreneurs fund that was announced. A little bit more detail on how people can actually access that and rejuvenate that fund and really get it going. Policies, also regulation is a very big issue, not just from a starting and closing point of perspective, but regulations, the tax regime, any kind of adjustments to these things which can help us, which can help the startup ecosystem flourish, is a very positive thing. If you look at the Silicon Valley, there's so much innovation happening there, and we would like that to be replicated in this country, and I think Mr. Modi has the same idea too. That is what Startup India is all about. So we would really like those kind of initiatives on taxes, on regulation, on policy, and also on the funding side, some support from the government, whether it be as a fund or whether it be as reduced cost of funding.
Yogesh, if you could ask them one last question. Startup India initiative is, in fact, as the Prime Minister has always said, that the aim is for us to become job creators instead of job seekers, and it aims really at the grassroots level. They are in Bombay, they are in cities. It is comparatively easier for them to start up their own venture. But what about people at the grassroots level? And also ask them about their women colleagues, how difficult or easy it is for the women to really start their venture.
I'd like to come to you. You have also mentioned several important points. First, when we talk about employment, when we talk about general discrimination or general issues, basically not discrimination but issues. So how do you see, because you are a startup, definitely you have witnessed so many experiences, you are surrounded with n number of people. So how do you see the ground level problems, and also just tell us about job perspective, how do you see the changing moment and the things that should be done?
Yeah. So that's actually a very important point, because one of the, for us as a startup, whenever, for example, when we hire people at StyleFlip, it's always, people are not very sure what they are going to do. There are no incentives if you join a startup. There's no real benefit. And the result is the attrition in initial years at least is quite high, especially people see you're not funded, etc. So what I think would really help is if the government can come out and put out some kind of schemes for employees or people who join startups, and probably incentivize them to come and work for a startup, because at the end of the day, we are going to be the people who are going to create the next wave of jobs possibly, or startups are going to be the people who are creating this.
One question I would like to ask you, that just suppose if you are going to start a firm, startup, but you need some employees over there. So how do you manage? Because at that point in time, what I want to know from you.
So to be very honest, to recruit our first round of employees, it was very much through contacts and word of mouth, because we do not have the capital to put out on any job portals. There is no real job portal that would be able to support, or rather give us the kind of quality of people we are looking for. Also, many a time startups try new ideas, and you may not have access to resources who have those capabilities. So I think making more transparency in getting these resources or access to these resources is what's something we would look forward to and we would expect.
Definitely, one thing you mentioned that idea is more important. Resources are also important. There's no doubt that resources are important, but idea basic. If you have idea, then government is ready for that, and this is the high time that you can go on your way. Yes,
all right, Yogesh. Thanks for joining us, all three of you. So, young entrepreneurs really have a lot of expectations from the Startup India, Stand Up India initiative.